Hello, welcome to week 4 and the final week of Chaostober. I am both excited to be moving on to things in November and sad to see the chaos go because I've been having such a great time making my reading a little more chaotic than it needs to be, and it's been really fun. As with all of my vlogs this month, each week that I start a new vlog, I am also choosing a new way to pick my books. So we are bringing back the spinner wheel, but we're bringing it back with a twist. So I'm currently in the middle of 8 books. I'm going to quickly run through what they are and then tell you about the spinner wheel. I am in the process of reading Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. I am nearing the halfway point in this book. I am about 25% of the way into A Song for Arbonne by Guy Gavriel Kay. I am 40 pages into The Complete Fairy Tales of Oscar Wilde. I'm about 30% of the way through Tortilla Flat by John Steinbeck. I'm about 37% of the way through the audiobook of Bitter Greens by Kate Forsyth. 22 pages into The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and 20 pages into Winter of Ice and Iron by Rachel Neumeier. I am also 50% of the way through a secret book that is on the spinner wheel, but you cannot see it because it's for a different vlog. I have a spinner wheel here that has all of the books that I'm currently reading on it. Originally, when I had planned out this week, I was hoping to have all of the books that I needed to finish for my goals on this wheel, but last week, if you watched my vlog, got a little overwhelmed by just having so many books on the go, and I need to, finish them by the end of the month. So we're going to focus just on the ones that I'm currently reading. So they are all on here. You might notice that Nightingale is on here twice. That's because I spun this morning when I was getting a book to read. Every time I sit down to do some reading, I will be spinning this wheel to decide which book I read. And after every time I spin, I add a slice of that book to the wheel. The idea of this is that over time, that slice of the wheel gets bigger for that one book, or there's just more slices, so that I can kind of snowball into finishing books as more and more slices get on here and they get chosen more and more. Hopefully my momentum in the book grows and I can finish the books faster. So I'm about to sit down and have some reading time, so I thought I would spin with you. Obviously, I'm going to be doing this vlog for a week. That's going to be a lot of spins. So I'm not going to record all the spins, but I will throw in some spin recordings, like screen recordings when I do it on my phone. Sometimes I'll sit down and spin with you to see what we're going to be reading. And mostly we'll be talking about the progress that I'm making, and you'll see what I'm reading as the wheel expands. You'll see what I've been working on. Now, I'm kind of hoping that these short ones come up because they read very quickly, so I could probably finish them in 1 or 2 sittings. So in general, I'm hoping that the books I'm farthest in will be the ones that come up first, but genuinely, I'm happy to be just reading through this stack and finishing off books. It would feel really nice, even though I don't think I'm going to finish all of my goals in October. It was a long shot anyways. I want to read this stack down because it's gotten a little overwhelming. None of these books feel like particularly easy books. And so, it just feels like a very intense stack right now. But as we read it down, I think it'll feel a lot better. And so without further ado, let's do a spin. After we do the spin, I will add a pie of whatever book I get to the wheel, and I'm going to go read for a little bit, feed the animals, have dinner, kind of wrap up my night. So I may be spinning again, probably not on camera, but I'll show you what I'm going to be reading for this spin. Oh, yay! Okay, not to pick favorites, but that was one of the ones I really wanted was Tortilla Flat, because that's one of the books that I think will be finished easily. So it's possible that like I could finish it this evening. Our wheel looks like this now, and I'm gonna go do some reading. Hello, I'm here because I was doing a little reading on an ebook last night for my secret book for this project, and I wanted to update you because I decided to DNF it last night. You'll see the book in another vlog later, and so I'm not going to talk about like why I DNF'd it because I haven't shared anything about it here. But I did decide to DNF it, and there are 2 books that are related to this book that will also be leaving my shelves along with that book. So I'm going to pop them up on the shelf backwards so you can't get any hints. These are the books that are leaving my shelves. They're very chunky. Each one is like 700 pages. So in a way, it's really great because I'm getting them off my shelves. In another way, I was really hopeful that I was going to like that specific series and the related books, and I'm sad that it didn't work out. But I thought we would spin to see what we're going to read for today. I am doing some cleaning, and I only have Bitter Greens on audio, and I don't know if I'm in the biggest mood for audio while I'm cleaning. I've been enjoying catching up on BookTube while I'm cleaning, so I may wait until I need to go to get my allergy shot because that'll take about an hour at the nurse's office to like make sure I don't react badly. So I may just wait until then to actually like read, but I am going to do the spin now while I have you here so you can see what we're reading. Okay, so the secret book is gone from here. Nightingale has been spun twice, so we have 3 sections, and Tortilla Flat has been spun once, so there's 1 section. So let's see what we're gonna get. I might pull it a little closer so you can actually like see what it is. I also shortened the spin time, which is fantastic. Ooh, okay, this will be nice while I'm waiting in a doctor's office, like short stories. This is the Oscar Wilde fairy tales. I haven't read it yet in Chaostober, but it's just short stories that are like fairy tales written by Oscar Wilde. I've read a couple of them and really enjoyed them, and making some progress in a short story collection is always good. So that's what I'll be reading for the next while, and I'll check back in with you when we have any kind of big updates or anything. Oh no, you guys. I have another DNF. I spun this earlier and I was sitting down to read it, and I kid you not, I got 6 pages before I put it down because that was the most pointless 6 pages of world building info dumping I maybe have ever read. It was like we were thrust into this political landscape where big things were happening, and the author quick needed to like catch us up on everything to make it make sense why it was important. And I'm like, connect us to a character who cares about it, who can like piecemeal it to us. But instead it spent like 6 pages of just info dump, info dump, info dump, info dump, and I couldn't make sense of any of it. It was just so many words, so many places that didn't make sense. We had nothing to like hang our hat on, so to speak. And so it was just like so terrible to read. And I was like, I'm not even understanding any of this. I can't make sense of it. I need to be done with it. So unfortunately, that means we're down another book. Kind of unfortunately. Like, I'm fine with DNFing things. It feels sad to be DNFing like 2 books in one day. I feel like I'm a little bit spinning my wheels in all my other books. I haven't picked up Bitter Greens in a while other than to listen to like 5 minutes of it on audio before I go to sleep. And that's been fine. But I feel like I've lost the plot on that one a little bit. We've like added a 4th timeline / story that's just not interesting to me in that one. So I'm feeling so uninspired by all my books, but they're not ones that I want to DNF. So I read about 40 pages of the Oscar Wilde fairy tales, and they were fine. I didn't actually, other than like chuckling a little at one of them, I didn't find them all that interesting, even though I was just sitting at the doctor's office with like nothing to do but read, which usually is a sign to me that like I'm not enjoying it that much. Pilgrim's Progress is going okay, so I could pick that one up. I think the one thing that I'm really liking is The Nightingale, so that's been like a bright spot within this. Tortilla Flat has like scenes and moments that I like, and then moments where it's a little weaker in the plot and my interest. So I'm going to spin, and we'll see what I get done tonight. I might try to listen to Bitter Greens, see if I can get past this part that I'm not liking as much and get back to the stuff that I was enjoying. So I might just see if I like listen to that while I do some laundry, if that would kind of help everything feel a little better there. Another one for the massive stack. At least we're making good progress on freeing up my shelves this month. Okay, hello. It is the next day. Yesterday was very productive for my currently reading shelf, but I feel like this week has just not been great when it comes to the books I'm reading. So I ended up DNFing another book yesterday, Bitter Greens by Kate Forsyth. I got to about 38%. I was listening to it on audiobook, and we just kept having these like, it was kind of a story within a story within a story, and it kept like going further back in time. I was having a hard time figuring out why we were back in the perspective that we were in, and then there was like a lot of like graphic stuff that was happening on the audiobook that I was listening to, and I was just like, one, I don't care about this perspective. Two, this feels very out of the blue, and I didn't necessarily think the author was handling it well. So I was just like, I think it's time for me to like say goodbye to this book because I'm not having a great time with it overall. There's only really been a couple sections of the book that I've liked, and then the other sections I haven't. So I decided to put this down, pass it along. And then I was spinning in the evening, and I got another Oscar Wilde fairy tale. So I read a story, and then I spun again, and I got another Oscar Wilde fairy tale. And then I read another story and spun again, and got another Oscar Wilde. So like the wheel was like half Oscar Wilde, and I just pushed through and finished this last night. I will say I don't really have anything to say about this. Everything that I read was fine. Probably my favorite story that I read in here was The Devoted Friend, which was the first one I read when I started yesterday. And that one was just, it had a lot of like humor and silliness and like an interesting message. Everything else just felt fine. I reread a story that I had read a long time ago, and I did not feel the same way I did about it, 7 years ago when I had read it. So I'm just kind of done with it. I don't really have a lot to say. Like, if you like Oscar Wilde's writing, maybe pick these up, see if you like it, but I don't think there's anything to like write home about, nothing life-changing. I, for the most part, started like skimming most of them because they did feel quite repetitive and verbose in a lot of places and didn't feel like they were like necessarily going anywhere. So I finished this, and so that brings our currently reading down to 4. We have our 2 classics that I'm about halfway through, Tortilla Flat and Pilgrim's Progress. Then we have Fantasy, A Song for Arbonne, 25% of the way through. And then my just started historical fiction, The Nightingale, that I'm like 40 pages through. So I feel like this stack feels better than it did before. I just feel like these are, out of the books that I started, these are the ones I was finding myself drawn to the most. As I said last night, like Tortilla Flat has its moments where I like it and its moments where I don't. So I am going to finish it, but it's just not something I'm like super drawn to. I still think probably these two are like the ones that are highest on my list, just because this one is like an allegory and it's written in like kind of a dry way where it's just like this happens and this happens and this happens. So it's not like the most compelling thing to like sit down and read, but it is a fast read. So I spun earlier before getting ready to do a workout and then get ready to settle down for a little bit, and I spun A Song for Arbonne. So I'm going to read this for a while. I'll probably give myself like an hour and then spin again and we'll go to something else. A Song for Arbonne is on there twice on the wheel. Nightingale I think is on there 3 times. Tortilla Flat I think is on there twice. And then Pilgrim's Progress is on there once. So I feel like our wheel's skewing a little bit more towards this one right now, but I'm excited to be picking up this one again and kind of having like one epic fantasy to focus on for the rest of this week. I think will be really good. My goal is to finish all 4 of these books by the end of the week. It's Friday afternoon and I need to end this on Wednesday because I'm leaving on the 31st to go to my brother's wedding, and so I need to have the vlog wrapped up, edited, and scheduled for Friday. So I'm going to get that all done on Wednesday and Thursday. So I do only have 5 days left in this vlog, but I'm hoping that before the end of October, I'll have wrapped all of these up so that I can have like a more clean slate to start November with, because I've just had a lot of books on the go for a long time, probably since May when I started my Start a Book Every Day challenge. So I'd like to wrap these up, kind of clear the currently reading, and then figure out what I want to kind of focus on for the end of the year. So that's my update. I made myself a yummy mocha with some like hot cocoa mix, which I'm very excited about. And it's a delicious hot coffee. It's like a cold, blustery, rainy day today. So I'm going to cuddle up by the window under some blankets with some hot coffee and just like relax and read. My husband got his flu shot and COVID shot yesterday, so he's like sick and resting. So we're just having like a very relaxed, chill day in the house today. I may update you or I may not. It depends on how often I want to like set up the lights and the camera, phone, and tripod and everything. So we'll see, but I will update you when I have any sort of big news or revelations happening. Okay, it's been a little while since you've seen a spin, so I thought I'd spin today, and you can see what I'm going to be reading. Let's go, let's go. I have shortened the spin so it doesn't linger for so long, which is nice. Okay, I have been asking for like my short books, so I'm gonna be focusing on that for the next little bit when I sit down to read. Hello, I finally finished a book and not DNF'd it, which feels like a triumph at this point. I have finished Tortilla Flat by John Steinbeck. I'm not sure where I'm going to end up rating this. It's between a 2 and a 3 for me. Unfortunately, I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. This started off very strong, which I talked about in last week's vlog, but it kind of felt all over the place by the end of it. So we have Danny who like gets this house and he has a bunch of friends who are kind of bumbling, don't want to get a job, want to do nice things for people, but do it in a kind of roundabout bad way. Like they'll be like, we want to do something nice for Danny, so we're obviously going to spend all our money on wine, but we'll go steal a chicken for dinner. And so it's like they have the money to do the right thing, but they do the wrong thing, which is spending all their money on wine, and then steal a chicken from someone to give to Danny. So it's like their heart is kind of in the right place, but kind of not. So this had some good moments in it, for sure. Some funny moments, some warm-hearted moments. But it just honestly felt a little too episodic and a little too pointless. I don't feel like we got to the end of it and I knew what John Steinbeck was trying to say. A book of his that feels like this, the characters felt very similar, but I thought had better execution, was Cannery Row by Steinbeck. I think that one is a much stronger narrative, but still had the same kind of characters that are trying to do good, but doing it in a way that's kind of like maybe more harmful than good, in a humorous, lighthearted kind of way. So, unfortunately, like, not my favorite, but it's not like a terrible, terrible book. And I am glad I read it. I want to read most of Steinbeck's books, so this can, like, check it off as one of his earlier ones that didn't work for me, but I can, like, move on to hopefully stronger ones in the future. And then last night, I read mostly this because this kept coming up, and so then I had, like, a bunch of it on the board. And The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I am really enjoying The Nightingale. It reads very easily. I think there is a little bit too much telling in the story right now, and I don't know if it's because she's wanting to rush through the setup to get to, like, the meat of the story, but it feels like we're being told, like, what characters are feeling a little bit too much in a way that I'm like, I don't know if you can, like, look at this person and know exactly what they're thinking, but the author wants us to know that this is what that person's thinking, so she's just, like, making the person think that. So, for example, like, the younger sister, Isabel, will see this guy that she's, like, interested in, and she'd be like, I see sadness in his eyes. And then, like, a few pages later, she's like, I see that sadness replaced by a want for revenge or something. And it's like, girl, you don't know him. Like, you don't know what he's feeling. Like, people don't really wear their emotions that obviously on their faces. Like, I don't know. And it's just, I think the author wants to get across that the character's emotions are changing, but we're in the point of view of Isabel. So she's like, instead of saying like some description about the guy's face, she's just having Isabel tell us what the guy's thinking, which is, like, I don't know, not the best way to do it, I don't think. So that kind of bugs me, where I'm just like, are we, like, able to tell his emotions like that? So, I don't know. That's just a very small qualm that I'm having. Other than that, I am enjoying the book, and I think it's going to be an interesting book to continue reading. It's one of the easiest ones I'm reading. I feel like I can just sink into the writing and read for a while without, like, feeling tired or bored. Like, the plot's moving quickly. I am interested in the characters and where their story's going. So, I'm enjoying it overall with that little qualm. And then I just recently spun A Song for Arbonne by Guy Gavriel Kay. This poor mass market paperback has been dropped, and because this is, like, quite an old edition, like, when I dropped it, instead of, like, creating a bend, it just, like, cracks. Like, this, I accidentally, like, the cat ran over it and bent it, and it, like, hasn't fallen off yet, but I'm like, this is going to be a coverless copy by the time I'm done with this book. I need to be careful with it. I am enjoying this, and this is what I'm going to be reading for the afternoon. It is going to be in one of my Taming the Shelves vlogs, so I'm not talking about it too much here. You can get more details about it once that vlog comes out, which is hopefully soon, because I think this is the final book I need to read for it. So I'm almost 200 pages in. I'm hoping I can get to page 200 before dinner, maybe. That's like 20 pages. So I'm gonna read this and walk, because it's been a really rainy day, so I haven't gotten that many steps. I need to do some pacing around the room and read. So I'm gonna go do this. I am feeling good. I want to get all 3 of these books done, if not by Wednesday, because I don't think realistically It's Sunday right now. I don't think I'm going to finish all of them by Wednesday, but Chaostober goes until the 31st, so I'm hoping to finish all 3 of these by the 31st. Hopefully, I'll get a really good chunk done by Wednesday so that I can like share my thoughts with you. I did want to look at our goals and just tell you like where we're at with meeting them. So let me go grab my tracker sheets. So of the 4 goals that I'm working on, I can check off some classics. So for classics, I have 2 left that I need to read. I need to finish Pilgrim's Progress and then read Pilgrim's Regress. So for new to me authors that I own 2 or more books by, I have 6 spaces left, plus I need to finish A Song for Arbonne because I did put this on here when I started it so I wouldn't forget that it went for this goal, but I need to finish it, so technically 7, including this one. The Nightingale will count for one of those because I own multiple Kristen Hanna books as well as A Song for Arbonne. And then the other 5 books are still on my TBR that I haven't gotten to yet. And then for older mass market paperback fantasies, I have completed this goal, so that's exciting. I completed it with Perdido Street Station, but it would also work once I finish this one. I have so many of these mass market paperbacks on my shelves, it's crazy. So that brings us to a completed goal there, which is very exciting. So that means I have so far completed Finish All series I began before 2025. When I started the year, I could only think of 10, and I kind of found some more along the way, and The Hunger Games came out with another book, so I was no longer caught up with that one. So that number is like not finishing all the series, but it was finishing 10 series in this year. So that one is completed. The Mass Market Paperback Fantasies is completed. I need to read 2 more classics. I need to read 6 more new to me authors that I own multiple books by. I still have not succeeded with my fantasy series. I have had some bad luck with this goal. This goal feels a little bit cursed to me, where I either only read 1 book and then I DNF the second book, or I don't even get through the first book. So I'm just going to be trying to read a full fantasy trilogy by the end of the year. We'll see if it happens. Like I said, this goal feels a little bit cursed, like it doesn't actually want to happen. And then, so the last goal will carry me up to December 31st, and that is to have read 75% books I own and only 25% books from the library. I'm sitting right at around 86% right now, but with how many books I've read this year, every time I read a new book, it's changing that percentage by like 0.2%. So I definitely think that I will be able to beat this goal unless I like went crazy and just read like 60 library books all in one go, which isn't going to happen because I have goals I need to finish by reading books I own. So I'm feeling really good about the goals. I think this challenge for Chaostober was like really well done. The fact that if I finish these 3 books, I only have 6 books left that I need to read in total. I can easily do that over November and December, which is really exciting because that means I'm going to have the maximum amount of points to go shopping my little prize board with. And so I'm going to get lots of fun prizes, and that'll be really exciting. Something I'm really looking forward to in the new year. I have like a few vlogs planned that have to do with the prizes, so I'm just feeling so excited. I'm really glad with how well my goals fit with what I wanted to read for the year. I have felt like I've had to push myself. Like I can't just read all fantasy standalones because I'm like, I have to find a series that I can try to read, which is one of my goals. It's easier for me to read standalones, so like pushing myself to be trying those series has, number one, cleared a lot of books that I haven't been liking off my shelves, but number two, just gotten me to dip my toes into large series that I was kind of intimidated by. So I'm really excited about these goals. I'm ready to finish the next couple of days very strong and just get as far as I can. And then those last few days in the month that I won't be vlogging, hopefully I'll be able to make even more progress during that time. So I'm going to go read and walk, and I will check back in with you maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow after work. And we'll just see how much progress I can make in this one and the other two. I have not spun Pilgrim's Progress yet. And with how many times I've spun Song for Arbonne and the Nightingale, I don't know if Pilgrim's Progress is going to come up until I finish one or two of them. So that one may be the last one I finish, which is kind of funny. So I'm going to go read and see you next time I check back in. All right, adding another book onto the stack. I officially split it into 2 stacks because it was getting a little too precarious up there. So we'll add Tortilla Flat up there, a little tiny book, and we'll keep reading. Our chaotic Oregon weather is really like coming in strong right now. It was beautiful and sunny like 10 minutes ago, and now it's looking like it's gonna absolutely pour any minute now. And then there were 2, you guys, I'm DNFing this book. I got to page 190 and I just had to put it down. I am not finding joy in reading this. The moments that I am enjoying are few and far between, and I'm just like, every time I sit down to read it, my mind is like wandering. I'll talk about this in my Taming the Shelves vlog, but one of the things I don't like about this is it's very, very low fantasy. There's actually very few fantastical things in here, and I love my fantasy to be filled with magic, magical creatures, prophecies, chosen ones. Like, I love all the crazy, like, fantasy stuff, and this one is basically set in another world with a little bit of magic that's not really a part of the plot yet, that's not really explained yet, and I don't know if it ever will be. So I'm going to pass on this one. I'm also going to be giving away the other Guy Gavriel Kay books because I think for the most part he writes historical based fantasies that are very low fantasy. So I don't think they're going to be for me. I looked up the plots for these and I'm like, I'd rather read like a historical fiction than read these that are supposed to be fantasy because they just don't give me what I want from fantasy. Whereas if I read a historical fiction, I'm going to be getting the same type of story, but actually learning about some history. So not for me, but 3 more books for the stack and chunky books at that. I'm just over this month. I knew I was going to be picky. I'm finding I'm being even a little more picky than I want, and I just want to read books that I'm excited about, and this one just hasn't been sparking excitement. So I'm okay with passing it on and getting to some other books that do spark excitement, at least right now. So I'm gonna spin between Pilgrim's Progress and the Nightingale. I'll screen record it because I don't want to get the computer out right now. So I'll just screen record what I'm going to be reading for the rest of the night. I have about an hour before I need to be getting ready for bed. And then I'll be taking those 2 books with me tomorrow. If I spin Pilgrim's Progress, it's going to be fairly easy to finish that in 1 or 2 spins. Nightingale is going to take a little bit longer, but now that it will be like one of my main reads, I'm hoping like maybe we could finish sooner than I think. I don't know if we can finish before Wednesday, but like maybe. And maybe if I'm close, I'll like drag this vlog out one more day and edit it on Thursday. I don't know. But I kind of would like to wrap up these books in this vlog so that if I read any other ones, I can put them in another vlog, but we shall see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna go read, get ready for the night, shower, get cozy. I'll screen record when I'm gonna read so you can see and see what the wheel looks like. And, oh, we'll go put these on the stack first. and it just grows and grows. I think we're up to 30 books that we're getting rid of this month, which feels insane. But like trying out these authors that I haven't read from before and getting rid of multiple books is like huge. So definitely need to do that more often that rather than just letting them sit on the shelves and collect. Okay, here we are. Pilgrim's Progress has been quite outnumbered by Nightingale so far, so we're just spin and see what we're reading. I added up the amount of pages I have left between the two books, and it's only 495 pages, so maybe I can finish these up sooner rather than later. Is anyone surprised? Let's add another piece to the pie for Nightingale, and that's what I'm going to be reading until bedtime.
Horizons are rising up to see. I'm finding out just fine who I am. I'm looking out, yeah, of my own desert home, checking all those creatures passing by. And as the way back to your heart widens all the time, it's the first soft light of the shy desert morning that reminds my blood to come alive. Don't take me downtown with these worn out shoes.
Hello, I'm here to update you on the things I'm reading. Haven't really had a chance to get any further in Pilgrim's Progress. We're still about at the halfway point, but we've also gotten to the halfway point of The Nightingale, and I'm very happy to say that I'm really enjoying this. I'm finding it very gripping. A lot of the gripes that I had at the beginning just aren't bothering me or are lessened, and we're just really in the meat of the story, and I'm really having a good time with it to the point where I'm like so excited that I have another Kristen Hanna to try and read. So if I haven't told you what this is yet, let me tell you now. This is a story of two sisters, Vianne and Isabel. Vianne is the older sister. They come from like a not so loving family, and Vianne is the older sister, Isabel is the younger sister, and Isabel has always been very headstrong, very much like, I don't want to be like the proper lady that you're trying to make me be. I, want to do something with my life that means something. Whereas Vianne, she got pregnant very young and ended up marrying the guy who got her pregnant. And it wasn't necessarily like a bad thing. Like, they loved each other. And for Vianne, it was kind of a way to escape her family because their mother died and their dad was very much traumatized by the World War I. And this is set in France, and it follows the sisters during World War II. And I really like the interesting angle that this book is coming in from, like, covering a World War story. I feel like it's stories that have been told a lot, and so it's hard to feel like you're having a very original plot to follow. And this one, because it's talking about France had such an interesting place in World War II. Like, they came to Britain's aid, but very quickly had to surrender because Germany just, like, really wrecked them pretty hard. And this is how the sisters kind of react after France has surrendered to the German. There's German occupation in much of the country, and really it's just about how two women react to war and how do they decide to do it. Vianne is kind of like, I'm gonna do whatever I need to keep food on the table, keep my daughter alive, like keep us going until our husband comes back from, he's a prisoner of war. And she's like, I will do whatever it takes. Isabel is kind of like, I would risk my life to, you know, do something to help the war. Like, we can't just like give in. And Vianne is very much like, you know, sometimes you have to give in to survive, because I'm not just going to throw my life away, because what's that going to do to my daughter? Like, I don't want to take risks. And I like how at first I thought they were being a little harsh on Vianne, because I'm like, when you have children, you really do have to think about how your actions are going to affect your children, and you have to be very careful about like putting your children in danger. And so at first I thought the book was really showing Isabel as like the one everyone should aspire to be, but really I think it's done a good job of showing how like war is terrible, and these two sisters are having to go through terrible things, and they're approaching it different, and it doesn't lessen the horribleness of war and what they're going through. So I'm just absolutely loving it. As you'll see on the spinners, this is on there like 9 or 10 times, and Pilgrim's Progress is on there once. So I may spin Pilgrim's Progress at one point, or I may finish this one and then finish Pilgrim's Progress, because that's kind of what it's looking like it might be. But I'm very happy to do so. I'm very much enjoying this. I have about an hour until my sister comes over, so I'm going to see how much walking I can get done and how much reading I can get done, because I need a lot of steps, and it's quite late in the day and I've not done the amount of steps I wanted to today. So I'm going to go do that and read and see how far we can get. Oh, something else I wanted to say is that like Kristen Hanna knows how to write like really tense, emotional scenes where I feel like I'm turning the page so fast because I want to know what's going to happen, but I'm also dreading finding out what's going to happen. I think she's really good at that. And there have been so many moments in here that I'm just like tensed up because I'm worried about what's going to happen to the characters. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this. Hello, it's Wednesday the 29th, and as I said, I need to end this vlog early, so we're going to wrap up what I read and how this whole Chaostober went, and then I will be ending this vlog because I'm jetting off to a wedding this weekend. So let's talk about our last 2 books that we were hoping to finish. I have finished both of them. I'm going to talk about this one because I don't have a lot to say about it. I think that the beginning of this book is much stronger. It's more concise in its wording. The last half got very wordy and it felt very repetitive. The same things that it was saying, it would like say them and then it would also like summarize them in a list that's like 4 paragraphs long. And so I don't know. I just thought it got a little wordy. I thought this would be a book I would really enjoy and want to keep on my shelves, but I'm actually going to be passing it along. I don't think I'm going to rate it because I don't know. It's like, I agree with the things it's saying for the most part. I just didn't like how it was presented, but I don't have really any feelings on it at all, which is kind of a weird thing to come out of it with, but that's where we're at. I read that. I finished it this morning. Yesterday, because the spinner wheel had so much of the Nightingale on it, every time I spun, I was getting the Nightingale, so I ended up finishing this yesterday. This book absolutely broke me. About the halfway point, we started hitting some things, and I started crying. Things that were very, very hard and sad and make you wonder how humans could do this to other humans. And then we got a break for a little bit. Things were still very tense, but I wasn't crying. And then I got to the last, 30 pages, and I sobbed the entire way. That last ending. I was crying so hard last night. My eyes hurt really bad afterwards, and I had a headache. I really cried. This is really, really hard to read in a good way. It's one of those things where it's like World War II and the things that went on in concentration camps and in France that I never really thought about, France being occupied by Germany and how they would have treated them so terribly, because you hear a lot about the things in Germany specifically, and so this was a unique perspective I'd never thought about, and it was absolutely awful. And I think one of the reasons this hit me extra hard was because we are seeing so many parallels to things that happened in the lead up to World War II in the US right now, with people literally being kidnapped, having no right to any sort of legal trial, people who are here legally just being taken off the streets and taken who knows where and in inhumane conditions. And it's awful and it's terrifying. And as someone who is white, I don't live with that fear of me being taken, but I have a husband who is not white. And right now, they're not that worried about people who look Asian, but I do worry a lot of times that will change. And then it's also I feel terrible that I'm happy that my family is not the one being affected. And I think that's what was so interesting about Isabel and Vianne's story, was because it was all about getting the courage to jump in the fight when you aren't the one being targeted all the time. Because in here, it was the Jews mostly, and communists and homosexuals, most of the French citizens, while they weren't treated well and they were starving and freezing, they weren't being sent to concentration camps unless they fought back. And this story is about finding courage to step up when things get hard. And I'm not gonna lie, while I was reading this, I was would I have been able to do that? And I know sometimes you do things that you never thought you would in the moments when it's called for, but the people, I know this isn't a true story, but I know it's based off of many true stories. It's hard to think that people were that brave, because the situations in here are so scary, truly, truly terrifying. And when I think about what if my little comfortable life was shaken up in this way, would I be brave enough to do half the things that the people in here did? It's a really sobering thought. And as our country descends more and more into fascism, it's something that unfortunately needs to be a little bit in our mind of how do we stand up for the people that are being affected right now, because these breaches of personal safety right now aren't targeted at me, but they could be targeted at my husband. It could be targeted at me, because once you take away one person's rights, you can take away anyone's rights. And this is a very powerful book, and it wasn't all hopeful, but it wasn't all hopeless either. And it was just so good. I'm so glad I read it for this challenge, because I think I had just heard it's a World War II story, it's really good, and kind of yeah, I've read a lot of World War II stories, but this one, it did have something very special, and I'm very glad I read it. So those are the two that I finished. I want to take some time to talk about some stats for what we read, because we made a lot of really good progress on my reading goals and just on my wider TBR goals as well. This little guy is keeping my notes warm. So I know I updated you on our goals, but I'm just going to do a quick recap of the goals that I have left. So I need to read one more classic. I need to read 5 more authors that are new to me that have 2 or more books. And then I need to read a fantasy trilogy that I own. I did not, unfortunately, start a trilogy that I wanted to continue this month. Or out of the books that are on my TBR, I'm going to quickly show you the ones that I had left over that I did not get to yet. We have 3 fantasy series that I did not get to. The Innocent Mage by Karen Miller, Black Sun Rising by C.S. Friedman, and The Crystal Cave by Mary Stewart. Fun fact, these were all written by women, and I didn't prioritize them, which is weird. I don't know why that happened. I read a lot of the series by men and DNF them. I did a couple by women, but like a lot of the series I put aside that were by women, I didn't get to. What does that say? I don't know. And then I had 2 books by authors I hadn't read from before. So we have The Folding Knife by KJ Parker and The Ministry for the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson. So those are the and then my classic that I didn't get to was The Pilgrim's Regress by C.S. Lewis. This is a response to The Pilgrim's Progress. I do plan to read this one even though I didn't love The Pilgrim's Progress. So I definitely will be planning to get to those books by the end of the year just to finish off these goals. I need to throw in a trilogy in there somewhere still. Hopefully one of the series I start could work. So let's talk about our actual stats. So over the month, I started reading 16 books, and I actually finished 8 of them. I am going to be unhauling 31 books because a lot of the books I started were books in series or books by authors I own multiple books by, and if I really didn't get along with it, I decided to pass the books along. I tried 5 series over the month, and I'm only continuing one, and that is a duology, the Lighthouse duology by Carol Berg. I read Flesh and Spirit, and I have the second book on my TBR, hopefully to read during Squashette series, or maybe by the end of the year. So amazing progress on my goals. I'm so excited with all the progress and how it went. I will definitely be participating in Chaostober next year. This was a very fun way to make great headway on my goals. I feel like they're definitely doable to finish by the end of the year. Like, I could possibly finish them up within 8 books. So I think that could definitely work. And I just had such a fun time, like checking in on the Discord and doing reading sprints with friends and things like that. I'm sad I have to stop a little early, but I will be traveling, and so I'm just gonna shift my focus to things I need to read in November. And I just hope that if you also participated, that you had a great time, and if you didn't participate, maybe you could do it next year. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to Danielle at Danielle Reads for hosting and organizing sprints and things like that, and just bringing us all into this fun, chaotic kind of month. I'm gonna go quickly put these books on the giveaway pile so you can see our final stack, and then I'll come back to close this out. Here are the stacks for the final time. I'm going to just put these a little haphazardly around because I will be moving these stacks and starting to donate them to Little Free Libraries now that the month is over. But it feels so good to be, kind of purging the shelves of some books that weren't working for me and making room for ones I'm super excited about. All right, so there it was, a bunch of books leaving my shelves this month, 31 of them. I'm very happy that my shelves are slowly getting a refresh over this year. It's been something that's been needing to happen for a really long time, and many of these books I've had for years and years and years. I've hauled them around to various apartments, and it feels good to finally be letting them move on to hopefully some more readers. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!